Hey guys, I have another dissection for you today, and what we have here is my programmable combination lock from a couple of years ago. Now, this is a dissection and not a tutorial, so the tutorial will be linked in the description below. And because this is a dissection, that means that we're going to be going in depth as to what each of these components do and how they work. Now, before we get started with that, I'd like to give a quick rundown of what this does for those of you who may have forgotten. So as you can see from these inputs up here, I have the combination set to 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course I can change that to whatever I want, but I'll just leave it at that for now. So if I were to input that 1, 2, 3, 4, then the output lamp will turn on, and if I were to push any button after that, then it'll reset. Also, if I were to input an incorrect number along the way, so let's say I did 1, 2, 3, and then I incorrectly inputted 1 instead of 4, then the system will reset. And that's just so people who randomly spam numbers won't be able to eventually gain access, because after every incorrect number, instead of just not doing anything, it'll actually reset it back to the beginning, so they'll have to start all over. Also, this thing is basically silent. I say basically because there is this piston here, but you can't use that to determine what the combo is since it activates after every button press. So you can't listen as to pick the lock, so to say. So yeah, that's what this thing does. So let's go see how it works. So I've color-coded the components to make it easier to see them, and I guess we can get started at the beginning with the input circuit, which I have in cyan here. So these levers set the combination of the lock, but how exactly do they do that? Let me actually get a single slice of this to make it easier to look at. So here we go. If you guys recall, this line of dust is the first digit of the combination, this is the second, this is the third, and this is the fourth. And as you can see, only this lever is in a different position than the others, which means that this is the right digit for the combination. So if I were to push this button, then this dust will light up and not any of the others, because this functions sort of as an AND gate, I guess, except in the opposite way, because all these levers are flicked on by default. It's only the lever that's flicked off that allows this torch to power when a signal passes through the bottom, as you can see here. Whoops, there we go. If I were to flick this and then change it to something else, then this one will stay off when I push the button, but then the third digit will light on, indicating that it's the third digit in the combination. Now let's say I had 2 of these flicked in a row. What would that do? Well, it would actually light up both of them, as you can see there. So there must be something else in the combination that allows it to work with double digits. And actually, this hopper dropper monostable here contributes to that in a little way. It also makes it a little bit faster. But this is primarily to make it work with double digits. And I'll get to that in just a second. But for now, let's actually take a look at how we store what the correct combination is and what order it's actually in. So if we take a look here, we can see that the inputs feed into this gray circuit, and this gray circuit is what I was talking about earlier, the memory that stores the combination and where we are. And so as you can see here, the first one is lit up, and we can now see that we are on the second digit of the combination. And what this gray circuit actually is it's an RS latch array, but the name doesn't really matter, it's more so what it does. So this is it isolated from the rest of the creation, and you can see that it's the exact same thing repeated over and over for every digit. So just like the inputs, we can take a look at a single cell to see exactly how it works. So this circuit has an off and an on, and in respect to this dust right here, right now the circuit is off. Now this just means that the digit that this holds in the combination has not been correctly inputted yet, and I could just simulate that with a button press here. So when I input a correct digit, as you can see, the state switches from off to on, and it'll stay like that because it's locked in by these 2 torches here. Now, remember a couple seconds ago, this torch was on and it was keeping that torch off, but as soon as I power that torch, this one turned off and it allowed this one to turn back on, and then it's just keeping that torch off, so nothing is powering that torch, and it'll stay like that until something resets the circuit. Now this repeater by itself may look a little bit weird, but when I put it with its friends, you can see that it makes a whole lot more sense. So these repeaters make it so that you have to input the combination in the right order. Otherwise, without these, it would be possible to just input the last number in the combination, and then the output would turn on, and then blah blah blah, access your vault or your tentacle porn or whatever. But right now, as you saw, this torch stayed off, which means that you could not access your tentacle porn. Yeah, but anyways, these repeaters basically just prevent future numbers from being entered when the current one hasn't even been inputted yet. So right now, because I have not inputted the first digit yet, the second, third, and fourth digits of the combination are all effectively disabled until I get the first one correct, like that. And then now I can only input the second one because the third and fourth are disabled, like that. So yeah, you can see that these repeaters are keeping the future ones powered on. Right now this repeater is powered off, which means I can input the third digit. And then because this one's turned off, I can input the fourth digit just like that. Now why the delay here? Why not just make it as fast as possible? Well, if you guys recall, when I was talking about these hoppers down here, I said that they fixed the issue that came about when you have two numbers that are repeated one after the other. And to emphasize that point, I just made the combination entirely once, as you can see here. But basically, because this repeater is on 4 ticks and the hopper dropper only outputs a 3.5 tick pulse, it won't allow the repeater to depower before the next signal gets its chance to turn on. And so I could just show you guys what I'm talking about right here. When I push the 1, as you can see, these all turned on, but only this one stayed on. And now why is that? Well, that's because this repeater actually turned off after the pulse turned off of these. I can just shoot, I don't have to reset in here. I need to reset it manually. So if I were to input again, you guys can see that these all flickered before this one even had a chance to turn off, and that's why this one didn't stay on. Now, speaking of that reset, how does that actually work? Because we need the reset for incorrect numbers, otherwise you could just randomly guess numbers until eventually you get the right one. Like I could just keep spamming these, and then eventually I'll get 4 ones, and it'll be the right answer. So we have to reset it after each incorrect number, and I actually have a simplified diagram of that here. So I made sure to color code the simplified circuit the exact same way I have the full design, and that way you could just scrub through the video and compare parts, see what corresponds to what, or you could just look at these signs I have so helpfully placed here for your convenience. But this input here, this button, is of course the button that you input to input your combination. This lever sets the combination. Right now it's in the incorrect position. This is the correct. And then this is the RSR latch that I was just talking about a couple seconds or minutes ago or whatever. But yeah, let's just say I input the right number for this digit, so that means that that lever is on, and I push this button. And as you see there, the RSR latch turned on, and there goes the lamp that indicates that. Now, let's say I input something that's incorrect. Well, let me turn the lever off, and then let me just input that, like this. And as you see, the RSR latch turns off. And remember that the RSR latch array is all linked together, so when you reset one, it resets all of them. So this just effectively reset the combination because I inputted an incorrect number. Now, how does that work? Well, first off, this line activates every single time, whether it's a correct number or an incorrect number. This is incorrect, as you can see, that's lighting up. This is correct, that's also lighting up. But this feeds into this reset line here. So if I were to push this, as you see, the purple lights up and the RSR latch resets. So that's how the reset part works. But what happens when it's a correct number? Because obviously we don't want the combination resetting when you input a correct number. So how do we fix that? Well, it's actually quite simple. So let me just turn this lever on. And as you can see, that just completes the circuit so power can flow through this block. And then through this line, it turns the RSR latch on. So we could just see that now. But at the same time, it also prevents the reset from firing. And the way it does that is, in this simplified circuit here, this repeater turns on, which extends the piston, which pushes this block. That's not a block, that's a sticky piston, which pushes this block out of the way and prevents the repeater from powering that line of dust. In the actual design, I do it through a couple of torches, but the principle is the same, the logic's the same, but that's just how it works. So when I push this like this, it prevents the reset from firing, and the RSR latch turns on. Now, like I was saying, the color coding is exactly the same as the full circuit, which I have here. So the green circuit is actually on the far end of the actual creation, as you can see here. And remember, this is the circuit that lights up whether the button is correct or incorrect, so every time this will pulse. And that just feeds directly into the purple reset. And remember that we don't want the reset to activate every time. We just want to activate it when it's a wrong number. So when it's a right number, we want to forcefully turn that off, and we do that through these torches here. And to send a signal to that, we just get the feedback from the RSR latches. So whenever an RSR latch activates, it'll power one of these dusts. So let's say the first one was correct, it'll power this first dust. If the second one's correct, it'll power the second one, third one, blah blah blah. But it doesn't really matter because they all feed into the same thing anyways. These hopper droppers just send a signal through here. and it'll go up through these, power that torch on, and prevent the reset from activating when the number that is inputted is correct. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe you learned something about how redstone works in general, but at the very least, I hope you guys learned how my combination lock works specifically. Now, I did make a dissection before, but this time I'm using an entirely different format. The other one was kind of half-assed. This one, I made sure to put in a lot more effort in terms of editing. I also color-coded things. I made some smooth transitions to make it easier to picture exactly where components go, and hopefully my commentary this time was better about how each component works. So yeah, I'd really love to hear your feedback about this video in the comment section below. And I guess besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye!